Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and today I want to build a Daydream army because Daydream's item lets you just have it out as long as it's in your party. Well, did you know that you can actually have multiple Daydream out at the same time? So you put any amount in, and can have 4, but then like that kind of gets weird with the pals that you want out. I need my Wyvern carry on my team, and then also a pal for like flying or running around. This dude's got Swift, so he's popping off right now. Now you might have noticed, I've caught a lot of Daydream. That's because I want the good passives like Vanguard. Wait a second, I can have 4 pals out attacking at the same time, and they're also giving me bonus stats like player attack and defense, so Vanguard and Stronghold Strategist. Also, what if they have a buff to their attack and they're just doing more damage? So, farming Daydream seems like the crazy thing to do, and I wonder if it actually like scales decently into the mid to late game. So the first thing I want to do is see how the attack stat is related to the passive damage to see if it's actually worth going for perks like aggressive or upgrading them, or if the damage is going to do like the same and it actually doesn't even scale that much. Alright, that did 241 damage, and it also showed the red marker, so it looks like it just applies as a dark attack, which means having a passive that increases dark type damage probably going to be ideal as well. So now we can find a level 5 that has aggressive, giving it a 10% bonus to attack. If we see a crazy hit like 270, 280, then it shows the attack is going to affect it. Alright, that was a 295 hit. So yeah, that does make sense, but I wanted to make sure that it was an actual like scaling interaction and not just flat damage on the passive. So now we need to prioritize farming for passive skills like Veil of Darkness, since it is a dark type attack, aggressive, or anything that just gives us raw damage or attack upgrades. And at least there's enough overlapping passives to where one of us can buff a player's stat and one of them buffs its stats, where it shouldn't be too hard to get 3 or 4 Daydream with all the really good stuff. Even though it seems to be kind of tricky. Now, breeding is a thing, but it depends on where you're at in the game. Maybe super hyper in-game Daydream breeding is where it's at. Or maybe you just need to spam catch them until you get ones that are good enough, fully upgrade them, you know, use the PAL condenser, use the soul upgrades, and then they'll actually be really strong and worth it. But after catching over 50 Daydream, all I have is the 1 Vanguard and 1 aggressive, so the farming continues. A lot of other overlapping ones. And now that's getting nighttime, it's the perfect time to go out and catch more of them. So what I do is I teleport over here, and then I just run around in this area because I found that the spawning in this area just feels a little bit better. Daydream location, not difficult to find because you eventually catch one at night and then you can see they're kind of everywhere. I wonder if there is like better spawning in the alternative starting areas. But overall, this has been working pretty well. It does feel kind of slow if you're wasting a night or not catching a lot of Daydream. Also, it just became night, so now they will start spawning. Fortunately, easy to see from a distance because of that purple glow. But then you kind of like out-level and things get weird. So I was doing a lot of good farming. I didn't realize the power of Dragon Cannon, where like Dragon Cannon before was one-shotting them. One-click ranged attack on short cooldown that you could just kind of spam out on things. Really good. So like having a fast mount for catching also going to be really nice. Ooh, wait a second. Hydrojet is actually still really good compared to Dragon Cannon because Dragon Cannon hits Dark type super, which means we can actually still farm even in the level 20s. Yeah, I wish I pressed buttons and considered this earlier because the lower level Daydream are easy to catch, and then the follow-up attack on higher Daydream makes them easy to catch. And thing is, if you have all of your Daydream in your party, they're just going to be out and they're going to be attacking, so there's a risk that they also kill the wild Daydream, which means you do want to put the lower level Daydream on your party so that way they're helping. Now, daytime doesn't mean it's over because you can find Daydream in caves. It just feels like the spawning in caves is pretty slow and annoying sometimes. I've gone through like entire caves several times to not find a Daydream, but hey, Stronghold Strategist. Finally, we get something we're looking for. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that going into this area and then running back and then coming back respawns the boss. That was a Tansy first time. Oh, wait a second. We might be onto something here. Oh, I might have been wrong about dungeons just from my experience of casually going through them and only finding a couple Daydream, if I find any at all. So Daydream can spawn as the boss. So you leave and come back until a Daydream spawns here, and then you can also run through that area and find some Daydream, and it seems to be pretty good. So Brave is just plus 10 attack. I think Aggressive is actually worse because it's plus 10 attack, minus 10% defense. And the Daydream that follow you around don't actually take damage, so it's only when like your main pal gets KO'd and then you send out a Daydream does that matter. But it is an upgrade. We do have one Stronghold Strategist and one Vanguard. Wait a second. Male Daydream with Vanguard, female Daydream with Stronghold Strategist. We do have a breeding pen, and I have explored out here. So I've KO'd Cinemoth and V-Guard, which means we have honey. So we can actually bake a couple of cakes. 2. Gated by milk and eggs, and we have enough flour. Interesting. The problem does become the sheer amount of time it takes to bake a cake. So it's not like you're making a cake every successful breed. But if you just have this going passively, you turn around and get a couple of cakes and then you breed those off, maybe you get what you're looking for. And it doesn't take too much, especially if you're still trying to go out and catch Daydream in dungeons or just when it becomes nighttime. Ooh, and we got a Muscle Head, plus 30% attack, minus 50% work speed. I just realized that might be a weird one to breed down, but still doesn't like super duper matter. So we can swap that out. We can put these two in the breeding pen, and then we can hope we get something crazy. So swap out the Chillet for that. Also, Dire Howl is surprisingly fast. I don't remember it being this fast in my first playthrough. So either I had one with a slow passive and I wasn't respecting it, or it seemed like some of the mounts were a little bugged, like when the game launched or the pre-release, and maybe that got fixed and now Dire Howl has proper speed. I don't know, but this is actually really good. Alright, first egg is done incubating. What do we have? Vanguard Destructive. Egg number 2. This is taking a while. Vanguard Ferocious. Plus 20% attack, plus 10% player attack. That's what we want to see. Alright, so my take is that breeding is not worth it. While you can get some pretty crazy combinations, you're just better off spam catching, clearing dungeons, getting the items from those dungeons, and then using that to upgrade and snowball your progress. Even though breeding is passive, it's still like extra work and maintenance, whereas you're just running around catching Daydream getting stronger, that's better. And then you also get a lot of Daydream that overlap and don't do anything, where it's like, okay, I have 2 Vanguards now, but where do I put them? So breeding might be worth it for like the very end game, but if you're just trying to accelerate into like level 40 or something off of Daydreams, yeah, just catch a ton of them, get 3 to where you have some extra Stronghold Strategist or Vanguard buffing up your stats. If they get an extra thing like Ferocious or Muscle Head or Damage add-on, even better, but you can just go out and catch them and farm them that way. And then you're clearing dungeons and you're getting upgrades that way through the dungeon chests. Try to get like a main carry that has one of these perks as well, and then a mount that has another one, and I think that's kind of how you keep yourself super buffed. And if you get a mount that's also good for fighting, then you don't need a carry, so we can have like 4 Daydreams, and then that's just multiplying our power even more. So that's also a pretty good angle. And then you should have enough for the Matter Condenser. So I mean, if we make all of these Daydream 2-star, and then upgrade them a little bit with the PAL souls that we have, then it's looking really strong. Now when upgrading Daydream, we only really need to worry about upgrading their attack at first, because that's the only thing that's mattering when doing the passive damage. I guess like if your main pal goes down and you need to start just throwing out Daydream and hoping they can do something, then the extra stats kind of matter, because yeah, Daydream not like I don't know how deep this needs to go. Do you actually just want 5 Daydream, even though it seems like you really want them out? Do you want your other Daydream to also have just like combat proficiency and be useful if you call them out? Now I think there are some implications depending on when you choose to start your Daydream army, because if you've caught mostly Daydream and Dire Howl and like a few other starter pals, well then you're going to get the catch experience bonus, so you're going to turbo level with the Daydream that you want, and then you just go and destroy everything and try to scale super hard that way. And then when going through dungeons, you want to make sure you're catching all the pals and then just turboing through everything. And again, like, it should make farming the boss pal even easier, and then you get all kinds of cool upgrades. Actually, it seems like your pals don't get anything from the catch bonus, so the best way of leveling them up is going to be by defeating other pals, and then you get some big experience drops when defeating the boss pals. So yeah, we can see using the Daydreams to augment our combat is going to be pretty good, and then boom. Tons of experience, potential level up, stuff like that. Then you make money, and all that good stuff. The only thing I'm not sure of on optimization is like, okay, so what's the best mount? I haven't experimented with mounts too much, I mostly just kind of use them for the convenience of travel. Direhowl doesn't really seem that good at combat, so having it on the team when like you're trying to use all these Daydreams to grind doesn't seem that great. Chillet seems alright at combat, but I got super duper lucky by catching the Alpha Chillet with Swift. So I'm going to assume like the average playthrough, or most playthroughs, aren't going to have something like that. Arsox seems really powerful, so like maybe going for Arsox and using him as like a combat mount. And I don't know, like, is the deer good? Like, can I just ride the deer and then also just train the deer as well? Maybe give it a couple PAL souls, maybe condense it once, and then that's all I need for fighting, because it's just going to be a boss for combat, and then that's going to let me keep the 4 Daydream. So that input would help bring this together in the comments, and after that, I've made my Daydream army. But we will have to wait and see if this pays off, because this is a multiplayer playthrough with a friend. So if I end up scaling past him and I'm able to just like beat bosses a lot quicker or get into the high area and I start like snowballing experience off of this, then it worked. If we're just kind of like keeping up with each other, or we're still reliant on each other for like boss fights and encounters, then maybe not as crazy as it seems, because also having a variety of pals in your party that you can actually throw out and use for combat, very good for extended fights as well. If my main goes down and these are just kind of worse than anything else I could be using in combat, could have some problems. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Trial and error tips and tricks about building that Daydream army if you want to. Yeah, you just catch them until you get a couple of like good passive ones that buff you, and then you don't need to like breed or do any kind of other crazy farming. You matter condense them, you upgrade your gear naturally through like dungeons and chests and stuff, and then hopefully it turns out to be cracked. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.